Sorry guys, I just realized I was muted. So again guys, sorry, my bad. David here at InvestQ doing the first ever live stream on the channel. And today we're going to be breaking down what's happening in the market right now with a few key things. So first and foremost, taking a look at the FinViz. Let me get that down for you guys. Taking a look at the FinViz heat map. We do see here that the technology, especially when it comes to semiconductors, they're getting hit hard, and semiconductors, they're bleeding at the moment. And when it comes to other speculative AI stocks, you do see that there is quite a sell-off. But then you look at other sectors in the market, such as aerospace and defense and energy, that actually had a green day in the market. So I want to be breaking down with you guys, especially for the first live stream, what all of this potentially means. So we do have a massive week in the market. NVIDIA, they report earnings this Wednesday after hours, and they also, as you do see here with this other tab on the Forex Factory, we got the FOMC meeting minutes that happens at 1 o'clock p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. And as you do know, it's not as big compared to when it's a Fed meeting when Jerome Powell speaks. But this is something that investors still do take a look at, and they do anticipate to see what the results will be when the report comes out. And a few other things that was mentioned quite a few times on CNBC. You do have a few headlines that specifically mentioned that treasury yields and the treasury yield bonds, the US 10-year treasury yields, is being looked at. Oh, 1 second. I'm still hearing that there's no sound. My bad, guys. Let me see. Test, test. Can you hear me? Test, test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Interesting. Let me see. Let me see if there's still no sound, guys. 1 second. There should be sound here. Yeah, I think we're good right now, guys. Yeah, we got sound now. So, sorry about that. Just making sure that with the technical difficulties. But, nevertheless, going back to the live stream, guys, we do see here, as I mentioned, the treasury yields is something that they're going to be looking at. And also, a big day for something that both me and you cover, or that I cover a lot on the YouTube channel, and is mentioned, that I mentioned in a previous video. I posted it actually today, I believe. Yeah, I posted it earlier this morning today, relating to Castellum CTM and how the annual shareholder meeting is going to take place tomorrow, specifically at 10 o'clock a.m. EST. So it's a good thing I'm getting this run through for my first ever live stream, because I want to make sure that I do my best to cover that, because I know that's a highly anticipated event that is taking place tomorrow for all Castellum CTM holders. So I'm glad I'm going to be able to cover that with you again. And also, another thing is the fact that what I'm also going to be talking about, and it's going to be a little more on the technical side of things, is the fact that we're going to go over APLD, and we're also going to be talking about BBAI, Big Bear AI, specific levels of support and resistance, and cover again what was mentioned in a previous video that I did related to Big Bear AI. And another interesting thing is, again, this is going to be something different because I typically just cover individual stocks. One thing that I haven't done too much of in my videos is the fact that I do not necessarily go over broader market news, and we're also going to be talking about risk on and risk off market environments, because in fact, this actually relates a lot to what goes on with Castellum CTM, especially the bag holders that love Castellum CTM and talk about it a lot. Thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks, Carl. Good to see you. Shout out to you. Thank you for letting me know that the sound is good. But nevertheless, a lot of people, what is something that me and you and other Castellum CTM bag holders and subscribers on this channel talk about a lot? We talk about the fact that we don't understand why it is that Castellum CTM continues to shoot down. In fact, let's even look at CTM real quick, guys. And I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, too much of a rant without actually, I want to go from one bullet point to another, but I just really want to drill in y'all's heads the importance of what I'm trying to get here is the fact that even today we had a red day for Castellum CTM. We closed the day on just a little below 66 cents. And with everything going on with how we've eliminated debt, how the financials keep on improving quarter over quarter and year over year, the fact that when people don't understand exactly how the broader market works and when they don't take into consideration risk on and risk off environments, that can create more stress on you, especially if you don't understand why a stock like Castellum CTM is doing good, that is continuing to improve year over year and quarter over quarter. It's improving financially and fundamentally, but it continues to dip down. And just a reminder, guys, if you do enjoy my videos and breakdowns on AI, defense, space, and other growth stocks, again, comment below. In fact, in first live chat ever, comment in the live chat what it is you want in future upcoming videos. I'll take my notes and I'll make sure I do the research for you guys to cover in future videos as well. And also, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, as I do appreciate the support from you guys. Now, what did I say we're going to do first off? I said we were going to go into broader market news. Again, completely different. I've never done this on a live stream or on a regular video. And a few key points that I want to talk about is the overall market today definitely did tell a story of the fact that the overall sentiment of the market is they're feeling very cautious. When you take a look at a few of the indexes, you see that the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, they're both red, and it doesn't show it in this highlighted portion right here. But it was stated earlier that for the second day in a row, they're both red on the day. Now, the S&P 500 was down around as much as 270 points, and currently at the moment they're down only 5 points at the moment. So not that much. It's just a small, unchanged, kind of insignificant bearish day. And there was a similar story that happened with the NASDAQ as well. And when we take a look over at the heat map again, for those of y'all that didn't see that earlier, is the fact that, let me show it to you. When we look at the semiconductors in the technology sector, we do see here, and I just want to reply this real quick. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, so when it comes down to the, let me see right here. When it comes down to the technology sector, especially with semiconductors, we look at NVIDIA, AVGO, AMD, all those other big type of companies that people hear about regularly. They have a bearish day and they're very weak today. And tech overall was extremely red. Now, even though that's the case when it comes to tech, the S&P 500, again, as I mentioned, it wasn't down that much on the day. In the Russell 2000, the IWM, as I do recall, did have a much bearish day. So that does also show you that small caps are getting hit a little more today compared to other days. And that does actually make sense, especially when you look at other small cap stocks like CTM was down on the day, BBAI, it was down on the day, LAS, CLSQ, that was down on the day, and other smaller cap stocks were down on the day. I'm pretty sure SoFi was also down too. Oh no, SoFi actually did have a green day, so that's interesting to see. But nevertheless, CLSQ and all the other small cap stocks that we cover on this channel did have a red day, and that did reflect how IWM, the Russell 2000, was weak on the day. And a few reasons that potentially could be the reason as to why the selling pressure occurred today with specific sectors. So especially when it comes to technology and semiconductors, you do see here that, as I mentioned earlier, NVIDIA, they're going to be doing earnings later on in the week. And as me and you both know, everybody gets very antsy and very worried, and they really, really, really pay attention, and they're very cautious when NVIDIA earnings do come out. It's like everything almost stalls out completely, as me and you both know. And then once the earnings come out, everything becomes extremely volatile. So I do expect this type of market activity to happen all the way up until then. And then Thursday and Friday are going to be pretty volatile days. Most likely, I would say, because again, as me and you both know, nobody truly knows what's going to happen in the stock market. But nevertheless, I'm just giving the most likely, when I'm using logic, I'm giving the most likely outcome that potentially could happen. And Carl, I would say, let me see. Shout out to you, Carl. Is this a minor pullback, or are we getting ready for something bigger regarding the data centers, APLD? So actually, I'm gonna be talking about APLD a little bit later on in the video, specifically because I know I covered APLD 2 days ago. So I'm gonna be talking about that more. But just to answer your question, right now, just to answer your question, I would say we're more risk off at the moment, and especially because people are looking at treasury yields, bonds, and just overall with the FOMC meetings coming out and a lot of people getting worried about interest rates getting hiked. I would say that we are in for a little bit of pain right now before things start to get better. But I do think, especially long term, because as I talk a lot, I don't really do a whole lot. I have experience day trading, and if you look at my content from way back then, I do a lot. I did used to cover nothing but day trading and technical analysis. So what we do is we go over a lot of the fundamentals and the long-term view of things. So just to summarize what I'm saying, I would say right now we are in for a little bit of hurt for now, and especially with all the worries with interest rates and how everything seems to be more risk off. And, there's lots of people worried about recession, and people are putting more of their money into recession-proof types of assets. So for now, we're going to get in a little bit of hurt, but then long-term, we're going to be okay is what I would say. But I'm going to go over APLD in a little bit. So thank you again, Carl, for another comment. Now, as I was saying again, another reason why there's a little bit of sell-off today and the market's a little bit red. Oh, again, as I mentioned, S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, they're kind of unchanged to just slightly bearish. But another event that people are looking out for, that if you were just tuning in right now and you didn't see earlier, the FOMC meeting minutes are going to be coming out at 1 o'clock p.m. EST. So many traders expect the tone, as it's mentioned here. I would say, from what I've heard, market sentiment in the broader market is that most people and most traders and investors are expecting the tone to remain more hawkish, and meaning that the concerns about inflation and potentially higher interest rates for there's going to be higher interest rates for longer. And when the market hears things like higher rates, sticky inflation, hawkish Fed commentary, that usually hurts speculative growth stocks the most, stocks that we typically cover in the short term. That doesn't necessarily mean it's never going to go anywhere in the long term, but we're just talking about the short term right now. And real quick, I just want to give you a little bit of a shout out. So again, thank you, Carl. Now, going back to the CNBC website, when we take a look at the bonds, specifically the 10-year treasury yield, as you do see, 10-year treasury yield touches high. I don't even gotta go to the bond section, but I mean, I did. But as you do see here, it's pretty much unchanged, slightly down on the day. And as it says in the highlight right here, the 10-year treasury yield touches highest in a year. And what you need to understand is that, especially for both me and you and all the people that tune into my channel regularly, what most people, when it comes to bonds, because again, I haven't covered this on this channel yet, but what people consider when they talk about bonds and the treasury yields is they ask themselves, are yields rising or are yields falling? Because just in simple terms, what people are looking for when they ask that question is because rising yields can put pressure on growth stocks like BBAI, CTM, LAES, those smaller cap types of stocks. And when yields start to fall, that usually helps risk on name and speculative tech. And they flow money from those safer, more recession-proof types of assets. Like, again, as I do see here, you look at energy, healthcare, for example. Healthcare is basically one of the more safer assets on that side. They'll flow more money out of there into more of the risk-on types of assets, such as technology, semiconductors, higher growth AI types of companies and stocks, or even the smaller cap stocks like the ones that we cover regularly. Now, speaking of money flowing out from one sector to another, and again, if you do enjoy the content and you do like my commentary and live streams and videos, please hit the subscribe button, guys. But again, talking about money flowing from one sector to another, AI and semiconductor names are getting hit hard today. We already covered the reasons potentially why that's the case. But as you do see here, NVIDIA, it was down a lot more. Right now, it's only down 1%, 1.3%. AMD, they were down, at one point I saw over 2%, but right now, again, they recovered a little, being under just a loss, under 1% at 0.73% to be exact. And AVGO and Microsoft, Microsoft actually, I believe they were red earlier on the day. Let's take a quick look at that real quick. They were red on the day, but it looks like in the overnight session, they are recovering a little bit. So, oh no, actually they recovered during the day and they had a pretty decent day compared to other companies in that sector specifically. But when you move into the more speculative AI, the selling becomes even more aggressive. And by speculative, I'm talking about companies that have not proven themselves yet at the same way that someone like NVIDIA, Microsoft, AMD, those types of people have proven themselves. Looking at today's heat map, again, talking about risk on and risk off. And I don't know if I've fully said it yet, but just to make it very simple, risk on, risk off. Risk off means when they flow, when there's less money and people are more cautious and they put their money into more recession-proof types of assets. Risk on is when they put their money into more growth stocks and stocks that are more speculative and people are willing to take more risks. Hence the name risk on, risk off. So looking at today's heat map, this definitely feels more like a risk-off market environment. You can see heavy weakness in semiconductors and technology. It's not the most bearish day I've seen, but it's weaker compared to other sectors. And as I said, those companies, they're the ones that are experiencing more of the bearish activity compared to the other sectors. Now, meanwhile, the more safer and defensive sectors like healthcare, you got the consumer staples, you got, what else is there? Utilities right here, and even some of the companies in the aerospace and defense sector, they're even having a pretty green day on the day. So right now, it looks like investors are becoming more cautious ahead of NVIDIA earnings. Big surprise, like that hasn't happened before. And the FOMC meeting minutes, and with the continued uncertainty with potential hawkish types of commentary and the worry about interest rates and treasury yields, right now people are being more cautious. So, and even when we look at individual stocks, because I'm talking about risk on, risk off, you do see here that other individual stocks that are more risk on, like let me show you, for example, QBTS. I wrote it down all for you. So they closed the day at that price. All of these stocks I'm going to show you pretty much closed the day red, but QBTS was down as much as 9.72%, and they closed the day at 6.2 for a 6.2% loss. And then if we switch over to Riggedy, RGTI, it's going to be the same story. They were down nearly 10% on the day, and they closed the day on a 5% loss. Another one in the quantum computing market, because again, as me and you both know, quantum computing is more of a relatively newer, it's a relatively newer market compared to other types of markets in the overall market. So they definitely are more speculative compared to other companies, and the whole market took a hit today. And IonQ, they were down as much as 8%, and they closed the day on a 5% loss. And another one, QUBT, they closed the day on a 7.5% loss, and they also were down as much as 10%. And two more that we're going to be talking about later on in the video. Let's look at BBAI. Again, another red day. and they were down as much as 6.5%, and they closed the day on a 3.9% loss, almost 4%. And last but not least, the stock that we probably cover the most on this channel, we got Castellum CTM. They were down over 5% on the day at some point, and they closed the day on a 3.2% loss. So this is classic risk-off behavior like we've been talking about. And when investors become nervous about things like rates, yields, NVIDIA earnings, the Fed commentary, because Jerome Powell's not speaking, but the FOMC meeting minutes, money usually rotates out of the more speculative stocks first. So again, why I'm talking about this is not just to show how smart I am, but it's also to answer a specific question that a lot of people, especially in communities like Reddit and Discord, why a stock like Castellum CTM would still be bearish and still move down and not just skyrocket even when the company individually improves quarter over quarter and year over year. It's not just about the individual performance of the stock. It's also about the macroeconomic conditions of the stock market as a whole and the overall market sentiment in the more bigger names as well. Now, another thing, another thing that I want to cover, because I've already covered with you guys some of the repeating themes that were talked about in CNBC relating to, a few things I didn't mention actually. When you scroll down here, this thing changes all the time for those of you that don't pay attention to CNBC, but I'm pretty sure y'all do. Some key highlighted points that were repeated on the headlines were about oil, yields, NVIDIA most definitely, consumer weakness, hawkish Fed commentary, and interest rates. So that tells you exactly what institutions are focused on today. And we typically don't cover stocks from a day-to-day perspective. I mean, we cover the new news and new press releases that come out, but we cover the day-to-day types of press releases, but we focus on things more long-term. Now, switching over to more individual names and the main points that I want to cover from the individual stocks that was in the title, CTM, BBAI, Applied Digital, APLD. Real quick before I do that, another cool thing, not only are we having our first ever live stream, we also are doing the first ever live stream on InvestQ as well. So that's just another cool thing. Okay, so if there's a little bit of a loop on the audio, please let me know, because I'm gonna have to just fix that real quick in the stream. So please let me know in the comments if you do hear audio being looped. But continuing with what's going on with the stocks as a whole, for Castellum CTM, we're gonna be talking about Castellum CTM first. Tomorrow is a very important day for Castellum because the ticker symbol CTM. The company has its annual shareholder meeting. And real quick, let me just put this up. Please let me know if there is audio. Yeah, so because the company has its annual shareholder meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. EST, and I'm going to be covering that live as well. So the main points and the main things that a lot of people are paying attention to, and what the overall sentiment for the long-term bag holders and the people that I don't want to say love, because we don't marry a stock here on this channel, but the ones that do their due diligence and have done their research on Castellum CTM, I would say the sentiment within investors is a lot of shareholders are becoming frustrated regarding communication and visibility after the company hired the equity group for investor relations, because they're supposed to be taking care of the issues related to PR, because the people that know this stock, they understand that it's not talked about enough in the mainstream media, and there's not a lot of institutional eyes. There's not enough institutions that have eyes on the stock. And they feel like with all the good that they're doing financially with the fundamentals, they believe that this stock needs to be talked about more, needs to get more attention, because it's kind of like a no-brainer. If you see something that's improving quarter over quarter, year over year, they reduce their debt to absolutely nothing. They're on track to complete phase 3 of what they've mentioned about completing an accredited acquisition, and they plan to do it the right way. And a lot of other things that if you do your due diligence and your research related to Castellum CTM, it's almost a no-brainer as to why you wouldn't buy this stock. You know, why you wouldn't have bought it, I don't know, like 3 years ago. Well, it wasn't in the same position 3 years ago, but with what's going on with Castellum now and what we're seeing now, it's kind of a no-brainer to buy Castellum CTM. And the only thing that's holding back Castellum CTM is PR issues, and a lot of people get very worried about the actual share price and how the fact that we are underneath $1 per share. And many investors believe CTM and operates in industries with major long tailwinds relating to cybersecurity, defense, electronic warfare, and government tech. 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys, a little bit of technical difficulty. So, with the industries that they are involved in, since they're positioning themselves in a way where they can capitalize with heavy funding, especially because they're heavily involved with defense. And as me and you both know, defense is a heavily funded market that the U.S. government continues to pour lots and massive amounts of money into it. So that's another one of the reasons why investors in Castellum CTM get frustrated that they're not seeing more of the PR related issues being resolved right now in the short term. Me personally, I'm patient. I'm not too worried about it, but that's the overall sentiment for what I see within the investors in Castellum CTM. And what they also want answered, because I do have some subscribers that have specific questions that they want answered as well, but what a lot of other investors want answered is they want to know, what is their path to profitability? How long do they expect for them to be consistently profitable quarter over quarter? Because as I stated in a previous video, Castellum CTM had their first ever profitable quarter last year in Q3 for fiscal year 2025. They want to know about acquisition. I've asked the questions to people, not in management, but people that have spoken to Glenn Ives, the CEO, and that have had calls with Glenn Ives, and they've mentioned that Glenn Ives specifically has stated that they're on track to complete an accredited acquisition and do it the right way, where dilution isn't the way that they plan to fund this acquisition. They plan to do it the right way. And the thing about that is, even though that there has been talk that they're going to complete the acquisition, the only thing is that they want to actually see it. Because again, in a way, talk is cheap, but actions is where it's all at. Now, again, I'm patient with the stock and I'm not too worried about it. But again, that's just what a lot of investors are saying. And as I mentioned, speaking of dilution, there's lots of concerns about dilution as well. And they're worried about if it's going to happen. Again, there's been not articles, but there's been many people that I've talked with and that I've heard about that have done their due diligence and have spoken with Glenn Ives saying that, and Glenn Ives has stated specifically that dilution is not something that they plan to do anytime soon. Now, again, talk is cheap, and I'm not trying to dog on Castellum CTM or Glenn Ives. I do believe that they're very transparent and they're not trying to do anything that's necessarily deceptive. So I do have faith that they are being transparent and that he is being transparent when he says that they don't plan to dilute their shares. Now, they also want to know the growth strategy. What are we looking at, and how do they plan to expand within the next within the next years to come, within a more shorter time frame, and within a 2-year time frame or less, or in a longer term time frame from a 3, 4, 5, 10 plus time frame. Now, there's lots of people that get frustrated and they just want to sell out and they just want to get their quick profits. But there's people that look at this long term and are okay with being patient. And there's other ones that are not okay. They're getting extremely frustrated and they want to see results right now. I'm more on the patient side of things, but I'm just going over what the investors that do their due diligence with Castellum CTM have said. And speaking of which, I also do plan on being live tomorrow for the earnings shareholder meeting here on the channel. So please let me know if you guys do want to see that, and let me know what y'all think about the live stream when you see it, and what else it is you want me to cover in a live stream, because I'm going to be doing this frequently Monday through Thursday. I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be here consistently Monday through Thursday around 6 to 6:30 p.m. And guys in the chat, if you are listening, please let me know what your biggest question is related to CTM, and hopefully maybe I can get that question asked, or I can do my best, or someone else can ask the question as well, so that I can just be out there. So please drop in the chat what your biggest Castellum CTM question would be. Now, the next segment, the next stock that we're going to be covering is none other than BBAI. And BBAI, the problem when it comes to BBAI, and again, as I mentioned, they're going to have the annual stockholder shareholder meeting. But when it comes to BBAI, they haven't had any recent press release. I mean, besides the quarterly report coming out, they haven't had any more press releases. They've had that, and they've just been quiet ever since. Now, granted, it hasn't even been a full 20 days, so it's not like they've been months without any news. But still, we haven't heard anything lately from from BBAI. But I do want to state that even though in a way they have shown strength without news, shout out to you, Crazy Carl, again. Thank you for putting your question down. Again, this would be an interesting annual shareholder meeting because, again, it's a dial-in. It's not even a live stream that I click on the web. So I'll do my best to get that question answered, but I'm going to write that down to see if I can ask that question tomorrow's shareholder meeting. There's 2 questions I've been asked so far from my subscribers, so I'll do my best to get that asked. Thank you for the question. Now, again, there is news that was posted on Reddit, and shout out to the Castellum CTM Discord. They have many different tabs out there in the server, and in the tab general, hashtag general, there was something that was put on Reddit that they put here about a potential partnership for BBAI, but it hasn't been released or talked about in a press release. So that is something interesting. And if there's anything you do know about that, guys, feel free to talk about it in the comments below. This just came out a few hours ago, and it wasn't gone into great detail about what's the proper word I would say? The more deeper details about what this partnership is, how much it's worth, for how long of a time period, and who it's with. So, DPC Solutions. Okay. So yeah, DPC Solutions. But again, the other 2 questions I said about and related to how much it was worth and for how long of a time frame, that wasn't posted on their website. So it does seem as if like nothing's necessarily confirmed at the moment. So another thing, and I talked about it in a previous video, was how $4 was acting as a level of support. Funny thing, it actually broke below that level, but I don't think that breaks the thesis of what I said in the actual video, talking about how even though there's lots of concerns in relations to them being somewhat of a wild card quarter over quarter, one day they'll have a good revenue beat, and another one they'll miss revenue, and it'll be a bad quarterly. It'll be disappointing, and then there'll be a great one. Well, they don't really ever have great quarterlies, I would say. They have decent beats, and then they have they met expectations, a small miss, and there was one where they had a very bad miss that took the stock all the way down from like the $8 range all the way to $3 within a few hours, or a few minutes actually, and then the rest of the day it traded around the $3 range. And the reason why I'm saying that the thesis isn't necessarily broken is because, again, I don't stress too much about the day-to-day price action. I am more of a long-term bag holder, especially when it comes to stocks like BBAI, Castellum, SEALSQ, even something that has proven itself more like SoFi, for example, and they did have a green day. The reason why is because with all the talk we talked about earlier in relation to risk-on and risk-off behavior in the stock market, that's more of the reason why we are trading below the $4 range, and we broke below it on the day, and we did not and we did not recover above the $4 range. And again, it's just one day below. But again, it's more about what I'm trying to get at is even though we broke below the $4 range, it's more about the fact that we had a risk off type of market that's more cautious and is flowing money into more of the risk off recession proof types of assets. And they want to take their money out of these more speculative stocks like BBAI, which is also very volatile as well. And a lot of people can't stomach the price action of BBAI, and a lot of people do like to swing trade BBAI as well. So, but even though we did close, I just want to say that it's not that big of a deal in my opinion in the long term. In the short term, if you are interested, and you are more of a day trader, again, just do your due diligence and make sure that you do not break your thesis. You have your proper risk management, your proper risk parameters. You trade based on what your psychology is, and you do not break your plan just for flashy price action. And just because you see something volatile, again, the best thing to do is to take profits when you have a trade that goes in your direction, that goes in alignment with your plan. If you just get lucky on one trade, you typically give back all those gains in the market and then some. So that's all I'm going to say when it comes to the short-term price action of BBAI. And levels of resistance that I would say are important would be within the range of about $4.50 to $5 to see if they can break out above the $5. Again, it's been a while and we have traded pretty much sideways for quite some time. But from a price action perspective, at levels that were validated quite some time ago, I know that the more time a resistance and level of support is broken through, it does become more invalidated compared to something that like a double top or a double bottom that forms on the day time frame chart within the past 2 weeks has more validity compared to something that happened a year ago, for example. But there's still key levels of support and resistance, I'm going to say. And if we can break above and hold around this $5.12 range, again, I'm not saying we're going to do that tomorrow. I'm just saying that if we do want to see that the sentiment of the stock from a price action perspective is actually stating that they have a psychology that's more along the lines of, yeah, I actually do have confidence when it comes to BBAI. If we can, well, first off, we got to hold about around the $4 level. That's the first thing. But if we have some more, and then we got to hold above right here, the $4.20 level, where that's more of a shorter term type of resistance at the moment. But then if we can climb all the way back up to this level of resistance right here and hold above it, I would say that's when people will start to buy in a little more, and there's going to be more FOMO that starts to accumulate around these price levels. And again, why are we holding, even though that BBAI is more of a wild card, is due to the fact that what type of market they're in relating to the AI and defense narrative, and how the US government is going to continue heavily funding a company like BBAI. They actually have real market usage, as me and you both know. They have partnerships, well, not even the partnerships with the NFL team, but the airports. That was the biggest thing, is that they're actually deploying their products into airports with the facial scanner thing. They actually have real market usage, and the market that they are in, people do believe in the long-term story when it comes to BBAI. Now, the last stock that I'm going to be covering is none other than APLD. Applied Digital. And for those of you that don't know, Applied Digital, what they do, just to summarize it up in very short term, in a very simple summary, is the fact that APLD, it provides the infrastructure backbone needed to host and power AI workloads using GPUs from companies like NVIDIA. And they actually transitioned, because they used to be, if you don't know, they used to be focused more on Bitcoin mining infrastructure before transitioning towards more of the AI data centers, as they did see the demand for AI compute and data center capacity, the demand for it started to explode, and they just capitalized on what the market needed, and they saw an opportunity and they took it. Now, some of the developments that happened recently, and these press releases actually did come in, it's in relation to the $300 million senior secured bridge facility that was, the facility was led by none other than Goldman Sachs. And another thing that happened was, hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me go back to the press releases. it was in relation to CoreWeave. They also reportedly secured a massive long-term lease tied to CoreWeave that could generate billions over time. And this other thing that, sorry guys, I can't find that specific one. But yeah, it was in relation to CoreWeave as well. So my bad, guys. But when it comes to the bull case, when it comes to Applied Digital, the bull case is simple, is that if AI demand continues exploding, infrastructure providers could become huge winners. But there still is risk there when it comes to financing risk, execution risk, dependency on customers, and capital, and the fact that it's a capital intensive business. So even though lots of people do believe in Applied Digital, and to be honest, I would say that I'm one of them as well. I'm not heavily invested into Applied Digital, but it is definitely something on my watch list that I will be looking at. Nevertheless, there still are risks when it comes to a stock like APLD, is all I'm trying to get at. And guys, comment below in the chat if you do believe that APLD is going to become a major long-term AI infrastructure company. Let me know yes or no. I personally do believe so. But again, just let me know what you all think in the comments below. And I would say, and again, I'm actually having fun because time has flown by right now because it's already 42 minutes in the stream. And it doesn't even feel like 42 minutes, so I'm having fun. But questions that I also have for you is, what stocks do you guys want me to cover next? Are you bullish or bearish on AI? And is anyone buying any dips today on any stocks? And also, what is your most highest conviction play? Thank you, Crazy Carl, again. Thank you for the comment as well. So overall, the market, it definitely feels cautious right now as there is more risk-off behavior. Due to the fact that NVIDIA earnings are coming, FOMC minutes are going to be reported this Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and the continued yield concerns that are going on. Tech and speculative AI are under pressure, while defense and energy are holding better. So tomorrow, again at 10 a.m., we have the CTM shareholder meeting, which should be very interesting. And if you did enjoy the stream, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And comment below what it is you want to see in future upcoming live streams and future videos. But with that being said, guys, David with InvestQ, stay safe. Keep making good decisions with your long-term portfolios. And keep sticking to your short-term plans when it comes to your day and swing trades. But besides that, guys, take care. And I'll see you on the next live stream.